Thank you very much and welcome. Welcome to The Answer. So, what's the answer? It's the answer to a sustainable future and surviving a future pandemic. Now, hello, I'm Jenny Griggs. I'm here for several reasons. I'm here, first of all, because I love Wake Tech and I can't thank them enough for everything they've done for myself and for the Senior Center, but also I'm here because I believe in intergenerational communities and continuing education for all ages, and I believe in a proactive community like, well, it happens to be like the Wake Forest and Wake County areas. And also, I believe in you. There are several answers to the general question that we asked just a moment ago, but as we go through, and we believe that a proactive community like Wake Forest, together with Wake Tech, we're in a unique position to be that intergenerational community that is a solution to the question, or is the answer to the question relating to a sustainable future. Please don't misunderstand. When a community has a vision, plans accordingly, and has good leadership, this can happen almost anywhere. So it doesn't have to be in Wake Forest or in Wake County, but we're truly a beta here. Specifically in Wake Forest and also in the areas of Wendell, Knightdale, and Zebulon, they're just in the beginning stages of understanding intergenerational communities, continuing education, and being proactive regarding aging. So what are the facts? To change a crisis, something similar to COVID, into an opportunity, there are a few steps that we need to take. The first is to learn. What are the facts that are acting as a building block to the problem? Let's look at some of the specifics that we have here in our community today and think about what we have to work with. Wake County is growing. Do you understand why this community would be a good place for an intergenerational shared site? One, that you could easily find a career. How many of you are looking for careers today? Or how many of you are looking for something else to do? Or how many of you are looking for a continuing education? A few facts. 1 in 16 people in the United States is in the age category over 50, which is who I think my audience is probably today. 34% of the workplace in the United States is over 50. By the end of 2020, 25% of the workforce will be 55 or older. Now let's look specifically at our community and area. Wake Forest is a big reason in Wake County for someone to move to this area. It's one of the nation's fastest growing markets. It's ranked among the safest cities in the United States. And 89.1% of the population is less than 65. But this is a really interesting statistic. 61% of the seniors in northern Wake Forest live with their family. In other words, they're in a multi-generational setting. There are 24 charter schools in Wake County, and there are 9 affordable housing units in the area. So what does this mean to the process? Well, how does this relate to you in your continuing education career and in progressing past COVID or the next crisis? First, you have to have a vision. You must see what it needs to be and keep the focus and momentum. Second, you need to learn to unlearn. For instance, you must understand and be able and willing to develop intergenerational relationships and fight the mighty fight against virtual platforms and technology. You must take advantage of the breaks before you whether in the crisis or not. You must be innovative. You must practice solidarity, and you must expand your comfort zone. Don't do things that you've normally done every day. And you need to understand how it works. So let's look at places and spaces that are intergenerational and that can survive things like COVID. First of all, if all the spaces were like this lady in the picture at Wake Forest Historic District, then there's open areas to do whatever you need to do. You can get outdoors, you can feel alive. There's also indoor spaces that are open and can generate areas where you can socially distance. There's places where you can have Zoom, and there's spaces where you need to have Zoom so you can communicate. There's also places where you can easily enjoy nature and get out by yourself. And importantly, I'm circling this housing unit because it's something that is universally designed so that the reality is It doesn't matter what age you are, you can get into the front door. This unit has a bedroom on the first floor. So it's important to think about COVID and crisis, because as you age, then why don't you age in place? And it's also important to have places like towns of Wake Forest where you can just walk down the street, you can see something familiar, and you can still be socially distanced. The next thing relates to living in a community that provides programs and educational activities out of the box, such as the healing, art, and exercise through Tai Chi painting. If you'll see in the first photograph, this is one of the things that we've come up with that I think is really interesting and entertaining. The people are socially distanced. They are learning to paint and enjoying it, and they're also exercising it. So it's Tai Chi done to painting. It's a wonderful experience. Then there are other things that are being offered at Wake Tech. There are continuing education classes. And then there's a program that one of the gentlemen here, by the name of Jerry Glenn, helped start. We have Zoomers, so we have intergenerational learning. Now, this isn't a COVID identifiable picture because they're too close for comfort. But the reality is we have the young and the old helping each other. The parents and the older generation are helping the younger generation at home with their school. As a grandparent, I'm helping my grandchildren while my daughter's working. And this younger young man can help the grandfather with technology. There's also all different kinds of lifestyles and enjoying the outdoors. Also important are your attitudes, activities, and the organizations that you participate in to make COVID palatable. Look at the attitude this first woman has in the picture. Yes, it's a YMCA, but you know what? It doesn't matter how old she is. She is just having a lovely time. There are activities that have been able to occur. We've had a breast cancer awareness virtual dance-a-thon. The power of technology has been a wonderful thing. And here's something that's really interesting, and I wish every community would incorporate. It's an organization called SING. It's the Seniors and Networking Group, and it's actually in Wake Forest. It's an information and technology networking group as well. And their membership, anybody can actually join, but it's mainly for businesses to emphasize training and to help the senior population. They have a program specifically for dementia training. So with all that said, you see it? Can you create a vision and understand what's going to be important for us to go on and to continue in a holistic way to be sustainable, not so we can sustain ourselves? So it's intergenerational activities, families coming back together, and learning. Margaret Mead told us that connections between generations are essential for the mental health and the stability of a nation. A lot has changed, though, but what hasn't changed is we have just forgotten about it and about generations and being intergenerational because of our globalized age and our segregated world. Here's a question for each of you. Do you know what the onlyism is that we all have in common? Can anyone answer that? Anybody? Okay, nobody gets a prize. The onlyism we all have in common is ageism. Think about it. Everybody ages. Aging is ageless. So how do we go forward? Well, the first thing is you need to wake up, people. You need to wake up and realize that yesterday and tomorrow are different. For those of you that want or need to continue working, now is one of the greatest times ever, believe it or not. Last year, studies were released where older adults showed reduced depression and loneliness, increased life satisfaction after serving as a foster grandparent or a senior companion. There are two jobs that are easily identifiable and that you can get as a senior. You can even socially distance. 88% of volunteers who described a lack of companionship reported a decrease in feeling of isolation. After 2 years of volunteering, 84% of the aging population reported better ideas. Is volunteering dead in COVID? No. United Way says no. This is the time to help bridge the generation gap. Pen pals, teaching older adults, delivering meals and meds, food shelters, sewing masks, writing thank you notes for somebody, making homemade cards, and goes on and on. Today, volunteering is a gateway to a new job. Research tells us that you have a 27% higher likelihood of finding a job after being out of work volunteering than non-volunteers do. Interestingly enough, continuing education online program is a lifeline for seniors at home during COVID-19. And certainly Wake Tech is a perfect example of that. You also need to build multidisciplinary relationships and teams to make things happen. We have the town of Wake Forest. We have resources for seniors, which is where the senior center is. We have the senior center. We have Parks and Rec in Wake Forest. We have the Renaissance Center. We have Wake Tech, and we have a chamber, all of which are working multidisciplinary activities and intergenerational activities to make a big difference. So we also need to find resources with public-private partnerships and stakeholders. Again, educational institutions like Wake Tech are key. At Wake Tech today, even through COVID, we have had the opportunity to virtually offer classes here at our senior center, like all types of computerized learning, several levels of Spanish. We've even had a class in sign language, which was very successful, and I'm entirely grateful for it. We also need to ensure that we have local professionals such as attorneys, financial specialists, developers, realtors, retailers, and technology giants as part of our circle of influencers that assist these educational institutions and assist in intergenerational programming. Included also healthcare systems, local and state federal governing bodies, religious entities, local civic organizations, and most importantly, you. Now, if you look at a map in Wake Forest and in several successful areas, you can see that to be sustainable, we have engagement centers for active living. You'll see that a grocery store or some type of food source is close to a library, an engagement center such as a senior center. There's a park, there are walking paths, there's a school, pharmacy, and or clinic. Now, if you have a facility, not a facility, but an area, or live in an area or a space like this, then a situation like COVID is a lot simpler for you. You can walk places, you have an educational system, you have an exercise system, or a place where you can have multi-generational functions that are healthy. You have groceries, you have a library, and you can have medical attention. So engagement centers for active living are really a vision of the future and something that you're seeing more and more every day. So what are we going to do to evolve? Well, these are actually true pictures. We started here, boppers and boomers. Again, Jerry Glenn, who's on this, is partially responsible. We have a team of, we call them boomers, that assist the aging population with educating us to technology because we need to evolve. That's been the one of the number one hindrances. Social Security is received by 92% of those 62 and over. Well, what about those that are in non-retirement? We need to find bridges for employment. Work and leisure should be a combination of 42% of our time to have a healthy lifestyle. So, and the reality is you don't have to necessarily have a job as you once knew it. You can be creative with your job. You can have a part-time career. You can go back to school and learn how to be a gardener or a landscaper, or even again to specialize more in technology. You can own your own business. You know, the average age of entrepreneurs is 45. Harlan Sanders with Kentucky Fried Chicken was 65 when he started his business. Laura Ingalls Wilder wrote Little House on the Prairie at 65. Anna Mary Robertson Moses, one of the biggest names in American folk art, didn't start till she was age 76. Older workers that have health conditions are more likely to stay in the workforce and just have an encore career. Now, so one of the things the third thing we can do is we can foster intergenerational engagements. This is a perfect example. I keep pushing Wake Tech, but I can't tell you. This is what we did prior to having a virtual program. We had an intergenerational engagement, and this is one of the programs. We had a exercise O2 fitness trainer. We had a woman that was there she was an activities coordinator. We engaged in wellness, but by incorporating these people, we can also offer jobs and train people to do these jobs. It was a wonderful experience. So by fostering these kinds of engagements with people of all ages, we'll learn so much more. In being proactive, we need to step out of the box. We need to think about, okay, let's enjoy our families. Let's also, in enjoying our families, the reality is 61% of us become caregivers at one age or another. Now, so why don't we go get that training to become a caregiver? Did you know that even if you're a family care provider, that you can often qualify to be paid by Medicare? Interesting, huh? Let's not forget that there are pets now. Okay, you could be a dog sitter. And again, there's my favorite thing, technology. So here are photos of some of what is really available. The 50 Plus Summit, which was a couple years ago, is actually what we're having today. Make learning a lifelong endeavor. Here's an example here in the Senior Center of a Zoomer orientation, both wearing masks. They were actually talking about technology together and some of the issues they had. Again, SING, an organization in Wake Forest, is a dementia-friendly program. We honor our veterans. Here's a picture of the mayor and Jerry, again, Glenn, who's on this. And we actually had an open house at the Senior Center before COVID, but all of this plays a role in what we can do moving forward with COVID. Here's an example of an older gentleman that, was delivered something at his front door. So volunteerism is a big thing. Again, here's the intergenerational correspondence and how important it is. The good news, and something I'll bet you don't know, is something that I researched right now, this very moment. If you're looking for a job, older workers are the most likely to have jobs that can be performed remotely, as long as we have the technology and the knowledge. So perform remotely does not necessarily mean computers. It could mean gardening. It could mean a big thing today are senior chefs. You could be a senior chef, and this food is transported to people who are in need. And this is actually a money-making proposition. And again, technology. As long as you have it, these are jobs that can all be performed remotely. And the statistics tell us that 44% of the workers over age 55 are in jobs that can be done at home. So that's 44% of jobs can be done by us, 50, 55 and older home. For workers over 65, that number is 47% of us. And if you're an older worker, the odds are that you've reached a position where your knowledge is what you're selling, not what you do. It's your knowledge that's important. So now, do you get it? Do you get the big picture? Do you get that multi-generations, being grandparenting, living in multi-generational spaces, thinking about where you purchase, where you live so that you can age in place, are really important. So see the vision, explore the vision. The how, learn to unlearn, go back to school, keep your focus and momentum. Take advantage of this crisis. My mother always said, Jenny Griggs, if there's not a crisis, create one and then you'll grow. Innovate during the crisis, practice solidarity with everyone. We have to come together. Expand your comfort zone and look and foster intergenerational lifestyles and relationships. It's certainly sustainable in the way that we're going to go forward. With that, I think you got it. I think we're right at about 20 minutes, a little less. So are there any questions, or would anybody like to go forward in the chat room? Just a little heads up, I'm Jenny Griggs. You can find me at Resources for Seniors, Northern and Eastern Wake Senior Centers. That's my email and my phone number. And any questions of anybody? Comments? Well, I thank you all for joining. If any of you'd like to email me, the email again was online. I'll type it so you can get it as well. Wake Tech, I really appreciate the opportunity, and you know that anything that we can do is teaming together. We are here to do it. Thank you.
Jerry, did you have a question? Looked like you were trying to say something. Okay, you're muted, so trying to. Jerry, okay, what if I mute all?
I'm okay. I was
There you
just
go.
saying thank you without turning my mic on.
Okay. Anyone else? Joel? Joel, I'm having problems hearing you as well. Can you unmute yourself, Joel?
Was unmuted, and then somebody must have muted me again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, you mentioned the programs in Wake Forest. Do you have things in other parts of Wake County as well? We live in Apex. Now you're muted.
Sorry, I should know better. The location, the physical location is Wake Forest, but Joe, you can ask for our newsletter, and you can access anything that we're doing. We just need to sign you up. So we have a lot of training that takes place as well, physical, as well as we've got a class right after this actually about speech and hearing. So, we keep going forward with those programs. So please, ask to be on our newsletter.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. We live stream every day at 3:30. I also am the founding partner, and I see my partners on, of a company called Aging Collective. That's another educational resource. So please access that website at any time. And we'll be glad to reach out in another professional level if you have any questions regarding that. Again, Carolyn, thank you. Thank you, Michael. And y'all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. And we can beat COVID. We are beating COVID. And like I said, if there's not a crisis, the best thing to do is create one so that you can get better at solving the issues. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.